Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb is the host of the program, and I've been with you, Barb, on the show now for 4 years. I often hear you talk about how bad real estate agents actually try to derail real estate sales. So, what are some of the red flags that home sellers need to prepare for to look out to make sure that these bad real estate agents aren't sabotaging a sale?
Well, let's start with the ones that try to prevent contracts. So, the way real estate agents get paid is it's all commission sales. So we go out, we get a home under contract, we go through the process, we get to closing, and that's when the agents get paid in the end, when all the work is done. Okay. But for some reason, I don't know what happened, but the state really impresses upon agents that you have to be a fiduciary. You have to put their needs ahead of yours. The problem is they don't know what their needs are, right? So they just assume their needs are to go and get stuff from the other side and fight for their client. And I have seen people fight over pennies and nearly blow up a deal over a really minor thing rather than trying to find a solution for it. So some of the more common things that I see in agents trying to prevent contracts is they basically come up with these really strange, unfounded opinions. Like when they say, like I just mentioned, they'll stand there and look at the home and go, well, it's not worth that much, Well, how do they know the buyer doesn't think it's worth that much? It doesn't, the buyers are looking at what they can get right now in their price range. It might be worth that much. But if the agent doesn't think it's worth that much and they're saying it to the buyer might believe him and go, oh, okay, well, I guess if I'm gonna make an offer, but I don't know, the agent put it in doubt for me. But if I am gonna make an offer, I'm gonna make a really low ball offer. And then, oh, what if I have competition? And if I have competition, then they end up not getting the house, which I see that all the time. The job of a real estate agent is sales. It is a sales job. They're not supposed to show up and criticize, and I think they do it just to position themselves as experts. And I get it. I was shown a house the other day. It was really obvious it had structural problems. You couldn't see it from the cracks, but you could feel half the house going downhill. And it's too bad because it's a really cute house. But she noticed it, the buyer noticed it first. We talked about it a little bit, but I didn't try to discourage her. I just said, that if you buy a house like this, it's going to be a problem for resale because usually structural issues are big, big dollars, 35, $50,000 to resolve if they can be resolved. Or they say things like when they show the home, oh, it won't be approved for a VA or an FHA loan. Well, that is just not true. I have sold homes that were pretty darn rough looking that were approved for VA financing, and that's because they can be repaired to pass VA financing. What VA and FHA will not allow for it to meet the loan guidelines are these simple things. The house has to be livable, meaning the plumbing and the heat have to work. There could be no peeling paint on the outside, no broken windows, no safety hazards like missing outlet covers, trip hazards, those kind of things are the things that the VA looks for. I've had the VA ask to have those big window well covers put over the top of the window wells so kids and dogs don't fall in, that kind of stuff. It's not that high of a standard to pass VA, but it also doesn't say who has to fix it. It doesn't say the seller could fix it. I had one time where the buyer fixed it. And the buyer said, hey, I can do this. I want this house. He got a great deal on acreage. And we're like, okay, fine. And it passed VA and he's happy as a clam. So you want to make sure that, agents aren't doing that. That's why it's a really good idea to go ahead and put cameras up around the house. You can buy those Blink or the Ring doorbell cameras or some of the other, security system companies and just watch what they do. It's relatively easy put those cameras up and see what's going on. And they just forget and they blab away when they're in the house. And just so you know, another problem that agents tend to derail deals is over inspections. So I highly recommend that every buyer do an inspection on any home that they're buying. But some of the things that they ask for are really unreasonable. Like it's not their opportunity to ask for new stuff, like I want new granite counters. I want you to put in new windows. Now, if it was broken, like if the window was broken, it would make sense to have it repaired, the glass repaired. Or if something was not functional, it would make sense. But many, many times on inspections, you see the inspectors come in and actually encourage the buyer to ask to improve the home, to bring the home to today's building codes with special electrical outlets or all kinds of crazy stuff. Replace all the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detectors. Well, it's a recommended thing, but not required. So you really need an experienced agent that understands what would be reasonable to ask for on an inspection and what's kind of more of an upgrade and not reasonable. At the end of the day, inspections are negotiable anyway, but you don't want the inspector and or the agent to position the home to make it think it's not a good home. Last year, I actually had a inspector come in. It was an acreage property out east, and he started his day by turning every single faucet inside and outside the home on at the same time and ran it for 4 hours. Okay. It was a property with a well. Well, wells have tanks. Eventually, the tanks are going to drain out. It is not normal when you're in a house to run every single faucet for 4 hours. So, guess what happened? He ran the well dry. He sucked up sand through the plumbing. Then he goes and tells the buyer that the well is no good. There was nothing wrong with the well. There's definitely something wrong with that dummy inspector. He probably cavitated and broke the well pump. And you have to watch what they do. And so, and the agents don't know. They're like, oh, okay, I guess you have to terminate because the well's no good. So you really need an experienced agent that understands what's reasonable and what's not reasonable when it comes to inspections, because you don't want the low information, lesser educated, lesser experienced agents to derail a deal and be unreasonable when it comes to things like that. And I do these all the time. I help my clients negotiate for inspections and repairs all the time. Some things are reasonable, some things are not. Sometimes people make crazy assumptions about homes, like, oh, you failed to disclose that the roof was leaking, and it just, I don't know, it goes on and on. But the key is that you want to make sure that you don't have an agent position the home to make it think it's really, really bad. It's okay to address concerns, but you need to bring in your kind of big guns to back you up when you have those sort of challenges. As an example, I've had a few situations where the agent thought there was something wrong with the roof. And it turned out what happened was the insurance company that the buyer picked decided that any roof older than 10 years old, they were not going to cover. So therefore, the buyer's agent asked for a new roof. We had two roofers go take a look at that roof. There's nothing wrong with the roof. It was a high quality, high impact shingle. And so we went back to the buyer and said, nope, we've got two roof certs from roofers. They both say the roof is fine, and you need to go get a new insurance company. And that's what they did. And they closed on the home. So you've got to solve problems all the time in this business. And it's sad for me to say, but 81% of the agents out there sell 3 or less homes a year. So if they don't have the experience to deal with this stuff, they just react to these unlicensed inspectors and say, oh, the inspector must be right about the condition of the home. And that's not necessarily true. Another example would be building codes, right? You have to put in a GFCI everywhere there's water. Well, that's today's building code, but it wasn't when the house was built. So you have to know when to push back and when to not in this situation. And, sometimes you'll have crazy stuff like go on. Like one time I had a real estate agent that showed up at the inspection and the seller asked us to attend. Okay, so we did. And for some reason, because she was used to doing things that way where they had the house to themselves on the inspection, she had an absolute meltdown, hissy fit, told her buyer to terminate the contract because my team's representative was attending the inspection on behalf of the seller. Now, of course, the buyers fortunately overrode her and thought she was crazy and apologized to us. But there's some crazy stuff that goes on, and you just have to know what's right and what's wrong. Um, Okay, another thing that you really should check out though before you go on the market are some of the more high ticket items that you might have to run across if a buyer does their own inspection. Things like roofs. Many of the roofers will come out and do roof certifications for free. The age and the condition of your furnace, the electrical panel, sewer and septic lines, very, very expensive things that you should probably check out actually before you put your house on the market. And that is what we help our clients do, is be prepared for when it's time to go through an inspection. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice, and the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I have over 27,881 buyers in waiting just on my little website. And typically we can find about 100 buyers that would be a high match for your home. Plus, we have 64 high net worth cash buyers. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you're interested in selling your home and you want to call Barb, the number is 719-301-3900. We're talking, Barb, about how to prevent low information real estate agents from sabotaging your sale. Barb, what are some of the other things that a home seller can do to prevent these agents from getting in the way of selling their home?
Well, we have what we call a certified pre-owned home program, and it's optional, but it's something that might give the seller peace of mind to get that pre-inspection, to know upfront if there's any problems they have to deal with. I'm working with the seller right now that did that. They had their sewer line checked out, and guess what? They found a pretty good break. They're going to have to do an expensive repair. They need to close in a certain time frame, so they didn't want anything to derail their sell down the road. So they're on top of that, which is great. That means it's done. Buyers are happy. They know they have a good working order system and the whole property is in good working order. And it makes buyers pay a premium for homes. I would consider installing some kind of security system. Cameras, Ring or Blink, they're relatively inexpensive, especially if you have a vacant home these days, so you know what's going on. And part of what we do is actually help our clients prepare for their home to go on the market. And of course, always our promotion is top notch because it's all about pricing and the photos to get the buyers in the door, and then the house is going to do the rest. And you don't necessarily have to make your home available to show 24/7. I don't know who came up with that idea. I don't think it's a great idea. What I see problems with agents is they really feel entitled to be able to see it when they want to see it. And they don't understand people have schedules and they have kids and dogs and they can't necessarily open up their home 24/7. So don't feel entitled to show it all the time. You don't have to do that. And actually, I think when you make it less available, it makes it more exclusive. And don't trust what an unlicensed inspector might say about the condition of your home. Go ahead and verify it with experts in the trade. Some of these agents just believe these inspectors like lemmings going over the cliff. I remember one time I had this inspection where the inspector showed up with his little gadget that's supposed to read carbon monoxide detection. And he played it next to this brand new furnace, and sure enough, it went off. So we're in the middle of February. He shuts down the furnace, calls me and says, "This furnace has gone bad. It's leaking carbon monoxide." There was no smell of gas. Well, turned out the guy didn't know how to calibrate his little gadget and scared the buyer away from the home. You don't want this stuff to happen. That's why a certified pre-owned home program will work really well for you. And we can help you with these things in advance. And hiring the agent that knows how to work with inspections, how to sell homes, how to negotiate for these repairs so that there are no surprises in the end. Give us a call. I'm Barb Schlinker with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we have 27,881 buyers in waiting on our website. Plus, we have 64 high net worth cash buyers. These cash offers are actually pretty good. So if you don't want to deal with the traditional sales process and want to go completely as is, we can handle that too. Call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, give Barb a call, 719-301-3900, or go ahead and visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about how much would a buyer likely pay for your home. You don't want to miss that.